Is it going?
Mm-hmm.
All right, Kim. Well, we've covered consent and signed off on your HIPAA privacy stuff, and I've been reviewing the questionnaire that you filled out for me just to kind of get a basic idea of what's bringing you into therapy. And there's two things that really stood out to me. You had indicated that you've been experiencing some panic attacks. I've been dealing with some relationship issues, and I just wanted to kind of give you the floor so you could explore some of that a little bit more today. Mm-hmm. So why don't we talk about the panic attacks? I think that's a pretty significant presenting issue. And why don't you talk to me about like what happens before the panic attack hits, what's going on in your head, and also like when the panic attacks come, like where you're experiencing that in your body. Right. So why don't you go ahead and let me know what's going on. Just give me let's get some context for this.
I think what happens is I have trust issues. The relationship I'm in right now, I've caught him, in my mind, cheating, being on dating sites when he's supposedly in a relationship with me. So my trust is gone. But what I tend to do, and I've done probably a lot the last 9 years of my life since my divorce, is I'll get a thought in my head of potentially what could be happening, and then I internally escalate it to a point where I'm panic stricken. It's not even possibly reality, but I take it to a place where it feels as though it's actually happening.
So what does that initial thought look like?
Is it something negative that's happening that he's doing to me, cheating on me, seeing other people online again, but it's something that would hurt me, and so I take it to a place where I get nauseous and panic stricken.
So you become afraid.
Very much.
And then coupled with that, the other word I'm hearing is pain, hurt,
vulnerability, fear. Right.
Okay. So the thought will come that he's doing something that will hurt you. And do you feel vulnerable to this pain before the thought comes, or is the vulnerability coming in after the thought comes? Like, I'm just trying to get a baseline.
I think the vulnerability is there when I'm probably at my lowest of self-esteem in the day, and I fluctuate. My moods go from highs to lows. Really
okay, let's talk about that for a minute. So what part of the day have you been experiencing? How many panic attacks have you had with this recent relationship? And I think I remember you saying on the questionnaire that you filled out, or the information form that you filled out, that you've been in this relationship for about 7 months. Mm-hmm. And there was a recent change in the relationship, and he moved out of state.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
So did the panic attacks start after this shift, this location shift, or has it kind of been continual throughout the 7 month relationship?
I think the panic attacks started when I had gone out of town for 4 days for some training, and when I came back, my gut said to check his phone, and I did, and I found that he had reached out the day I left to an ex and wanted to meet up with her. I forgave him, I got over it, and I felt as though the relationship was stronger until this last incident where I caught him doing it again. So now it's pretty much, if I get in my head at all, panic attacks come pretty quick.
Okay. And what are you experiencing, like, physically during these panic attacks? And you had said that there's some fluctuation in the times of day when it happens, or when your self-esteem?
My self-esteem.
I thought I heard you say that they're coming when your self-esteem is lowest.
Right.
So why don't you track me through, like, sort of your average day and where you are with Kim?
Okay. Well, I'll just track today because it's pretty traditional. I got up. I felt pretty good. My boyfriend, I had some good, for us, good conversations last night where I felt secure in the relationship. This morning I wake up, I feel good. I make a plan for the day. I'm very spiritual, and I wanted to watch and see what some of my horoscopes were saying on YouTube, and got a really good vibe of what February could potentially be for me in my career, in my purpose in life. And then all of a sudden, one of the horoscope readers talked about I think she called it Emperor of Cups or something, but she said it would be one of these following signs, and one was Capricorn, which is my boyfriend, and they talked about how I'm seeing the relationship through rose-colored glasses, that it's not all that I want it to be, that I'm in a dream state looking at something that's not reality. And I think from that point on, my day already went downhill, because that just hit me so hard.
Right.
And so when I started to think about, could he be on other sites, I started to go through some of his things and found other emails and other dating sites that maybe, this could be from years ago, I don't know. But it got me in a really, really panic-stricken place where my heart races, I get choked up, my stomach gets like very, very nauseous.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, yeah.
And so do you experience that your emotional state gets really closely connected to your physical state?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, and I go through life through feeling. Okay. So it's not like I feel everything.
I heard something in what you were saying, like you had gotten up and felt pretty good. There were two things that I heard. I heard you say, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, I heard you say that you felt like you were in a pretty good spot with the relationship after because there were conversations that you had last night that helped you feel secure in the relationship. So I saw, like, what I was seeing was that the conversation tied you to the security, like the conversation or the nature of the conversation or the context brought you a sense of security.
Right.
So, and the second thing I heard you say was that you were in a pretty good place, and then you went to, the horoscope, which you like to track those, I guess, right. And believe that there's material in there for you that's right. helpful to you. And then the insecurities came back in and thoughts came back in, and then you went back into that panic mode. So I'm curious about, what I get curious about is if there's a pattern for you where you're feeling pretty good about things, and then something will come into your mind that kind of just like blows that out of the water.
Right.
Like I would invite you to kind of look back, let's say over the last, you said 9 years is kind of a significant time period for you because there was a divorce, right? So I would let you just kind of take a second to reflect back on, let's just look at that time period for now and see if like that's been a pattern. Like if you'll be in kind of a good place and then something will come up and just sort of like drop the bottom out of that. I mean, has that been a pattern for you?
It has, and it's been a pattern, I would say, not only in relational situations, but also in my own career and creativity. It can happen as well as in a great idea that I think is the next best thing that I can do. And with time and maybe outside influences or states of the feelings that I get throughout the day, I will slowly make something I thought so amazingly good that it's not even worth trying. And it takes me back down to very similar to the panic-stricken attacks or the anxiety, because now I'm like, okay, I've decided that's not going to work, so now what am I going to do? So it's a pattern, I think, in everything that I do. It's just getting stuck in my head and not having a good feeling about my abilities, and then having been a mom, knowing that in relationships I know what to do, and I know, and so that's the comfort place for me when it's working. I used to find comfort in my creativity, but because some of my creativity in my mind's eye hasn't worked, I don't feel secure in that anymore. And that's probably where I need to go back and get security, because relational's not working.
Well, I'm getting an image in my mind of, I'm getting it like it's almost like a flag on a flagpole, right? Yeah. This is the image that I'm getting, that the flag is like up there, and then like the winds come, the flag's like blowing all over the place. Like that's kind of the image that I'm getting right now. And I'm wondering where I'm hearing that your emotional state is tied to all these external things. And I'm wondering if there's a place where your emotional state is like kind of tied to the flagpole. Like, is your emotional state tied to something internally in you? Because I'm hearing, you know, when I was a mom, I know how to, you know, do things in relationship. In relationship, I know what to do. When I'm engaged in my creativity and feeling good about that, I know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
But then if the wind comes and shifts the flag around, it seems like the bottom just sort of falls out of that self piece. And I'm just curious if you're, you know, and that's just kind of my interpretation or my visual that I got when you were talking about that. And does that fit?
It's a good visual, actually, because that's very, very true. I mean, I can be going about my day feeling great, and anything can happen, from walking into some energy in the grocery store, or hearing a song on the radio that brings back a memory of another relationship, or just maybe not going to the gym and not doing the best I can. I mean, it can be something very simple to shift me into a state of just feeling just not good enough, not of any value, you know, or place on this planet, you know.
So that sounds really scary. That sounds scary. Like you could just be totally fine.
Yeah.
1 minute, and then something completely out of the blue could happen and sort of make you feel untethered, and, you know, just sort of take away all those structures that you were building that self-worth on. That's what it sounds like from over here.
No, it's how it is, and it happens frequently through the day. And if it weren't for, a friend of mine said that I'm resilient, I probably would stay in those lows all day long, but I'd somehow find a way to get my thoughts around something good to get me out of it. But it's still temporary.
Well, let's talk about that word that you just said, resiliency. What does resiliency look like to you? Like, what does that mean to you?
I think resiliency always comes from a place of negativity, and for me anyway, when I find myself to be resilient, it's when I'm getting myself out of a situation that's uncomfortable, or if uncomfortable as in feeling, or uncomfortable on how I see it mentally. Mm-hmm. So resilience is not so much perseverance, but getting myself out of a situation that I just don't want to be in anymore, or a feeling I don't want to be in anymore.
Well, what do you tap into inside yourself to be able to access that resiliency?
I don't know if I ever tap into anything inside myself. A lot of times I just will check out for a little bit, maybe watch some TV, go to the gym maybe, not so much anymore, but I think lately probably I just zone out and I go somewhere where I don't have to think, because...
Like physically or
no, I think mentally lately I've been just going, and I never used to do this, just putting on a movie or channel surfing, and until I find something that maybe makes me laugh, or putting on comedy in my car, because I'm having it's harder and harder for me now to get out of it without some sort of external assistance.
Yeah, and I'm hearing a lot of that external stuff.
Right.
You know, I'm hearing a lot of like the gratification or the feelings of self-worth coming from external things like relationships or your creative projects. And then the things that kind of drop the bottom out coming from external things. And then the resiliency piece coming from an external, like being able to check out and maybe like recharge your batteries, or does that sound right? Does that fit?
You know, I just well, yeah. And what I just realized is that probably if I would go back 7 years ago, I involved myself in a lot of internal, I mean, not thinking, but meditation, of just connecting with self. And I think I'm probably in an awful loop of being completely disconnected with self and only looking outward, because they're out of practice, or just don't feel comfortable doing it anymore.
So if we go back to that like 7 years ago piece, where you had a meditation practice, did you find, if you can kind of go back there, did you find that you felt more stable in yourself, or more, like you said, and I like how you said that, more connected to yourself?
I think what it did was train my mind to not get so caught up in these ridiculous loops of nonsense. Because when I calm my mind and I mind and trained it to not, to look at the leaf like in the water just passing by, but don't focus on the leaf, just let it pass by.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I was training myself to be able to do that with all thoughts. But since I haven't done it, I honestly right now I'm realizing that I'm constantly caught up in my thoughts, and then I feed them with more thoughts until to a place where my thoughts become almost like it's reality, but it's not.
Well, there's two things that I heard, and first of all, I wanted you to take a little bit easy on yourself because your thoughts are not nonsense. Okay, they're not nonsense.
Yeah.
They're there for a reason. We haven't been able to unpack all of this, and we're just starting the work, but they're there for a reason. And I had this image in my mind of like just a big giant head with like no body connected to it.
Oh my gosh.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because in the course of this conversation, this 60-minute conversation, we've just been talking about thoughts.
Oh my God.
And so I just had this image of like a big balloon head.
Oh my God, like a bobblehead.
Right. And the only time that the body piece seemed to come in was with the physical panic.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And I'm just kind of became curious about, if there's anything in that for you. Is do you feel like that you're just a big brain space?
Well, when you said that, I had a thought that came to my mind, which is, I guess, not random, but it came to my mind, was when you said what your vision was me being a big head and no body, I instantaneously, and this sort of scares me, went to my sexual relationship with my boyfriend.
Okay.
And started to think, is that how I'm dealing with the sex in my relationship, as well as just being in my head and not connected to my body for maybe good reasons or bad reasons? I don't know.
Let's hold judgment on the reasons.
But that's what just popped into my head,
okay.
Was being a big head, and am I connected to the physical in all aspects? And I might not be.
What do you think about that?
I don't know what to think. It's disturbing to think
it's okay. You don't need to know what to think about it. We can explore that idea a little bit, or we can put it off to the side for now. But I want to make sure that you're okay.
Yeah.
We're about to wrap up session today, and I don't want you to make sure that you're not leaving here with, some imagery or some ideas in the big head that is going to going to like sort of further compromise your equilibrium.
No, that's not going to happen. It's just an interesting vision because I actually can sort of connect with that.
If you can, like seriously, just say, look, that does not fit.
No, it sort of does fit, because I feel like that sometimes. Like if I could just get out of my head, my big head, whatever size it is, it feels pretty big at times. I would probably, it's even when just talking to my sister the other day, she's like, try not to get too caught up in your thoughts. And then my boyfriend ironically said, get out of your head, which was not as kind as when my sister said it, but I'm in my head a lot.
Right, but what does that feel like to you, to hear those? I mean, whether somebody's saying it in a nicer way or whatever.
Right.
Like, what does that sound like to you when somebody says, oh, get out of your head, or you think too much?
Well, first of all, it doesn't really let me be who I am.
Okay.
I think it's just, I don't want to say it's disrespectful, but it's not accepting who I am as a person.
Okay.
Because that's who I am. I think a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I ask questions a lot. And it's actually somewhat, not so much that time, but I've had a situation, people have said to me, get out of your head, stop talking, whatever. And it's rude, and it feels as though there's something not necessarily wrong with me, but how I actually function is not acceptable. And that makes me sort of ticked.
Well, I think you can own that anger. you know. And I would agree that it sounds like
It's almost insensitive.
a contradiction to how you perceive
right.
yourself, and then you have a very active, you know, intellectual life or cerebral life.
Right.
Does it help you? Does it make you get out of your head when somebody
No,
says that, or does it make you go more into your head?
I go more into my head, and then I wonder why. Well, if that person knows I'm so much into my head, then why aren't they reacting in a situation more like, instead of getting out of my head, say, well, what's going on right now? What can I do to help? Which is what I would do, but instead it's almost combative. I don't like it.
And I think that's totally okay for you to own that. You don't have to like that.
Yeah.
You know? Well, Kim, I think that we kind of need to back into, you know, the regular world space now. So I want to check in with you and see, you know, this conversation that we've had today, like, you're about to go out, and I think you had said something about the gym. I know that you're a regular gym goer, and I'm hoping next time we can pursue some of that, you know, kind of body piece, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I'm beginning to wonder if some kind of, we can integrate some kind of meditation practice into your treatment plan, some kind of body work into your treatment plan, to kind of maybe connect some of this stuff. But we'll kind of develop that together.
Okay.
Over the next several weeks. But I just wanted to check in and see where you were, and if you're going to be able to go out there and function in your day today. If your panic attack that you experienced before you came in today is, you know, like, let's touch on some of those just real imminent pieces and make sure that, you know, you're feeling safe and, you know, kind of in some sense of balance, so you can go out there and...
No, I do. Because it's good sometimes just to get it off of your chest too. But it also has me thinking that, which I haven't thought of in a while, is starting to meditate again and starting to do some of those practices that worked before. Because I would like to stay less in my head. I think I'm there way too much for me. It's not a right or wrong. I just know I get too caught up in creative. I'm too creative in my head with creating a reality that's not true. So,
well, I'm wondering about it was in. See, I just want to touch back on something, because when we discussed, when people say, you know, get out of your head, and then you said, but this is who I am, and it sounds like a non-acceptance of who I am. And for you to say, like, to set as a goal for therapy, I want to stay out of my head. Well, is that a piece of non-self-acceptance? And what I want to propose is not so much the idea of staying out of your head, but staying in a head that's a little quieter, or staying in a head that whose thoughts are a little bit more organized, or a little bit, you know, adaptive for your life. That's what I'm wondering about. Like, should we have that as a therapy goal? I want to stay out of my head more.
Yeah.
Or should we maybe reframe that goal as, you know, like, here's my living room, I want to rearrange the furniture, or I want to, you know, clean the dust things up from under the couch. Do you understand what I mean? This is your living room.
Right.
Right?
I think when I say I want to get out of my head, I can be in my head creatively, and it's brilliant. I love the process. I love how my mind is creating, and it's going in a constructive, positive direction. But I want to get out of my head is the negative thoughts, the thoughts that physically upset me, that aren't true. Creativity is one thing. That's positive, and it makes me feel good. But being caught up in something negative and destructive is what I want to get out of. I want to be able to somehow soften that, or even prevent it, or stop it quickly before it gets to a point where I'm having the panic attacks.
Okay. Well, for next time, I want you to kind of do a couple things.
Okay.
You said that it might be a good idea to begin re-engaging some kind of meditation practice. So maybe, you know, over the next week or so, try to integrate some of that
Okay.
back into your sort of daily routine. All right.
Okay.
And the other thing I think would be a good idea, and I'm getting really curious about this sort of thing we hit on at the end of the conversation about the creative aspect of what's going on in your head being exciting and like you love that part,
Mm-hmm.
and the being very like, I would say like nurturing to who
Mm-hmm.
you are, and then this other negative
Mm-hmm.
aspect, I'm wondering, I would like you to give some thought to if you see these two parts of your process up here as totally separate, like this guy lives over here and this guy lives over here, or if they're somehow integrated together, if they somehow are part of the same whole process for you. And like just kind of thinking about that. Are these two separate parts of who I am? Or is this who I am and they're kind of not working together?
Mm-hmm.
Do you understand what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That we can't, like one part, we just don't take this part out and just say we don't like him. Maybe there's things about him we don't understand right now.
Okay.
Maybe he has information for you that, and I just gave him a pronoun. So I don't know if it's him or her, or should we go like they?
Yeah.
Maybe the part that seems to be kind of overarching and creating these physical symptoms of the anxiety and the panic attack and the
Mm-hmm.
all of that, stuff that is presenting issues. If there's important information there that, we should look at and make friends with,
Mm-hmm.
or do we just kind of put him off to the side and figure out how to create some boundaries where he can't
Mm-hmm.
get back in there? So for you to think about,
Okay.
which approach or which kind of track you might want to take with that.
Okay.
And do you understand where I'm coming from?
Absolutely.
You want to kind of come back to me with what you just heard me say?
Yeah, I heard you talk about my two thought processes being one creative and positive, and then one being more him negative. And if I should, I'm thinking about the similarities in the two and how they would coexist if they could coexist.
And are they really two?
Well, I started to think about the him as, I almost looked at them as like a scale of which one is weighing more in my life, or which is more prominent in my life. And it seems as though the more my creativity and who I am when I get caught up in my studio goes down, and the relationship takes more hold of me, this part of my brain gets very much more active than this part. This part almost starts to shut down.
Okay.
So I think maybe they do need to work together, but I'm just so overwhelmed with this part. I just want it to stop so I can start doing something that's productive and makes me feel good.
I think the thing that I'm curious about is if this is a binary process, this
Mm-hmm.
or this,
Mm-hmm.
or if somewhere they're really the same thing,
I don't know.
And I
Yeah.
think that maybe we can, I don't know
Something to
either.
think
It was
about.
just an idea.
No, it's something I can meditate on.
Okay. All right, Kim, thanks for coming in
Thank
today.
you. Thank you.
Do you have anything else you want to wrap up with?
No, at this moment.
Okay.
But
All right.
I know where to find you. If I can.
do.
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you. Let me stop it. Oh my gosh, we didn't even tape all that.
Oh, wow. That's good.